The follow-up to Ark: Survival Evolved is Ark 2. It will debut on PC and next-generation consoles in 2020 and will be a survival sandbox game similar to the first one, as was confirmed at the Game Awards. On an alien life planet called Arat, Ark 2 takes place after the events of Genesis Part 2. Following that, all of the clones that had been split from the Genesis ship were dumped. Ark: Survival Evolved has been a PC game for several years. More recently, the game was also brought to consoles to cater to that particular market. But before we get into it, do me a favor and smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. Ark 2 on mobile? So it all began when I discovered a post on LinkedIn from Doug Kennedy announcing their search for a new mobile developer to handle Ark 2 and realized that this was legitimate news that was, at the time, only 4 days old. Despite the fact that Rasklark and Ark 2 News shared my content on the video, I wouldn't say it became viral, but it did spread quickly inside the Ark community. You may rest assured that if they had any concerns about its legitimacy, they would not have spread it as widely as they did. Of course, the source of the information is clearly evident in that video, and if you have a LinkedIn account, you can locate it yourself. This is the point where the unexpected comments on my video by Doug Kennedy himself caught me off guard when I was on trip. That portion is irrelevant. He wrote on social media that Ark 2 would arrive in time for PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. Additionally, he left a comment on my blog inviting me to get in touch with him directly through LinkedIn so he could provide you some of the detail you were speculating about when it comes to platforms and timelines. To be clear, Doug did not offer to have a Q&A session with me. That was not the case with this. I just had a good conversation with him, and it was just a chance for him to clarify some of the rumors I had in my video, rumors that are prevalent throughout the Ark community. I have the best of intentions and have no desire to mislead the community by sharing this news with everyone. I have provided as much proof as I personally can that I have not engaged in clickbait. I understand that some people will continue to have doubts until there is official confirmation, which is great, but I hope that my explanation has helped to clarify matters. According to a moderator from SurviveThurk.com, it seems like a legit article, and if ever that these news are true, then it's great news to have. Ark 2 on Switch and PlayStation? There is no release date for Ark 2 on the Switch yet. Only PC and Xbox Series X have been officially verified as Ark 2's platform release as of this writing. Nintendo consoles and PlayStation consoles have not been mentioned in any announcements either. While thinking about Ark 2 working on Nintendo Switch presents more of a challenge, the sequel is capable of running on PS5, which is comparable to Xbox Series X in terms of performance. It's impossible to picture Ark 2 arriving to Switch given how quickly the console's hardware is aging and how Ark: Survival Evolved already had performance difficulties that made the Switch version of the game difficult to play. Given that the original game was released on the Switch, it is conceivable that the sequel, Ark 2, will be as well. If Nintendo released the long-rumored Switch Pro, which has been in the works for years, this would be a lot simpler to imagine. Ark Mobile's updates. It was impossible to port a well-liked PC or console game to a mobile platform and hope for a similar experience or widespread popularity. Nowadays, it isn't easy to distinguish between them due to significant technological improvements. Because they think mobile platforms are mature, the creators of the famous PC game Ark: Survival Evolved have released the game on both Apple's iOS and Google's Android operating systems. Ark: Survival Evolved has been a PC game for several years. More recently, the game was also brought to consoles to cater to that particular market. As mentioned, the publishers have now delivered Ark: Survival Evolved to the platforms with immediate effect as an utterly free-to-play application, thereby wrapping up compatibility. They have determined that Apple's iOS and Google's Android platforms are the places to be. Before the original, iOS and Android users could anticipate enjoying the same gameplay as on PC. Ark: Survival Evolved is undoubtedly a game you'll want to get your teeth into if Battle Royale games aren't your cup of tea and you're more into the action of taming extinct prehistoric creatures. At the moment, mobile versions of games like Fortnite and PUBG Mobile are trendy, but if that's not your cup of tea, you may want to try it. But you're going to need contemporary modern equipment if you want to be able to sink those teeth. The game requires an iPhone 7 or later in terms of iPhone compatibility. If you possess an iPad Air 2 or later, including any iPad Pro model, you must have an iPad. PC or console gamers may have had to part with approximately $60 to play, but you, as an iPhone and Android owner, will get the experience for free. However, you can expect to pay pretty heftily for a series of in-app purchases to earn in-game currency. Dungeons. Dungeons introduce a fresh experience to the Ark brand that has never been experienced before for single-player and multiplayer. These dungeons pack with loot boxes, booby traps, several opponent chambers, and lengthy, meandering passageways. To obtain your treasure for use on the island, if you survive to the finish alive, you must fight the boss. Weekly rotations in the dungeons provide a brand new dungeon layout every week. We design brand new layouts using procedural generation and handpick the optimal locations for enemies and treasure. You won't have any Tames when you explore these dungeons. You'll be doing so on foot. The only way to complete this challenge is to start over from the beginning if you die. There are no item caches to find, and health does not replenish. Only the supplies you took with you, or those you find inside, will be sufficient. Once finished, you are free to run the dungeons as many as you desire. Every day, your first admission charges. Each access costs a rising amount of ancient amber. Primal Pass subscribers receive 2 complimentary entries each day. TEK. Different tech blueprints will be introduced each week, and they can only obtain from treasure boxes in the weekly dungeon. Are you trying to locate the elusive tech rifle blueprint? The dungeon must finish the week it is accessible, otherwise, it goes back into the vault and reappears in a subsequent dungeon. But loot boxes won't only fill with tech blueprints. Additionally, you'll discover premium resources and things like food, ammunition, and water that you'll need to survive till the very end. You can respawn in any area or bed on the island after defeating the boss and taking all non-consumable loot with you. Creature. Countless aggressive and passive monsters you can find in the dungeons. Many of the animals from the island may be recognizable to you, but you'll notice they now have an eerie glow. All new animals we introduce, including the Truden, will only appear in the dungeons. You may take out the implants from each of these animals and resuscitate them back on the island, where you can begin to raise your army of eerie Tames. Only hostile environments, where you prevent from leaving and are forced to deal with waves of enemies that are getting harder to defeat, will have aggressive enemies. Although other players can still join you in the middle of a battle, no one can go on to the next chamber until all waves are defeated. Bosses. You must beat the boss to finish the dungeon. Currently in construction are 10 different bosses altogether. You'll recognize some of the bosses from PC and consoles, such as the Megapithecus, while other bosses will be brand new to you. Once participants have reached the teleport pad, the boss battles, which may hold up to 10 people each in multiplayer, will start. Once the boss encounter starts, you'll have a time restriction to work within, and if you win, you'll receive the eerie element as payment. You may create tech blueprints and chronicle your Tames with this eerie element. Chronicling. Your Tame will be frozen and forced back into its implant throughout the chronicling. The implant decay timeframe eliminates after the implant has documents, and your domestic will no longer count toward your time slots or the server time limit. Regardless of their level, Tames can be documented with the eerie element and resurrected when necessary for just 2 ancient amber. Are you excited for an Arc 2 mobile? What about on the PlayStation and Switch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.